President Trump took to the airwaves on Saturday with a new proposal to end the government shutdown. While still asking for $5.7 billion to fund the borders for border security, in return, President Trump offering protections for some undocumented immigrants, but Democrats, well, rejecting Trump's offer. And so far, there really doesn't appear to be any shutdown to the shutdown. We're talking 31 days long. So the question is, where do we go from here? Joining us now, attorney and Trump 2020 Advisory Board member Jeff Ballabon, Culturintel and CIEN Plus CEO Lili Valletta is with us, and former Democratic congressman from North Carolina, Brad Miller. Thank you all very much. Lili, I want to start with you because you were invited to a conference call with some Hispanic leaders on some potential solutions for this.
Correct. I think what was very interesting in this call is emphasis of the economic prosperity and the impact that all of this has. I think we are stuck with the border wall. Does it work? Does it not work? But the counter and the other elements like DACA, like TPS, have tax implications, have tax revenue implications, and a bigger picture that is good for all that we should look at in a holistic way.
Give us an example then why does this matter? Because those, when you say implications, they're positive implications?
Yes, here's, I literally had an aha moment on my way here, Charles, and I think we're going to be the first show to ever say this. The DACA recipients today contribute $2 billion in tax revenues every single year. We're extending it for 3 years. That extension alone is $6 billion in tax revenue. So let's look at it from an economic standpoint. That in itself could become a fund that even as it continues, when we fix it long term, that can continue to help with the humanitarian crisis funding that we need and the border security funding that we need. So let's just think about it as a business, because President Trump is a businessman, so there are some economics at play here that could be looked at differently.
You know, Brad, I'm glad Lili brought that up because, in part, President Trump also offered $805 million for technology to stop the flow of drugs at legal entry points, $800 million in humanitarian assistance, $782 million for new border agents and judges, which, of course, we know we need, and $563 million to support the court system, rather. So, you know, these are things that Democrats have argued for and said they wanted for a very long period of time. How could it be a non-starter?
Well, those aren't the sticking points. Obviously, yes, Democrats would support that. I supported that when I was in Congress. Border security is not an issue. The question is how we go about it. And I very much favor extending DACA, extending TPS. But the president didn't really offer anything because all he did was say he would not do for 3 years what a federal court has already ruled that he can't do.
Well, yeah, but that's making its way through the court system, and there could be, you know, there could be a time when you look back on this and say, golly, maybe we should have taken that deal. But in the meantime, though, Jeff, what do you see, you know, as someone as a part of President Trump's advisory board here? Because President Trump's offer did anger some folks on the right. They're saying, hey, this is amnesty. This is not what we voted for.
Sure. You know, anyone on the right who's upset about this wasn't paying attention to the president all along. When the president ran, and from go, the president understood where this country was. He talked about a big wall with a big, beautiful door. And that's what he's talking about now. The president has not changed from the beginning. What he knows about this country is that, by and large, we are a very generous country. We want legal immigration. We want to make sure we keep the bad guys out, get the good guys in. But we have to fix the system, and then we can allow this. The president is staying on message. He's going to deliver his promise. And what Lili just talked about, the benefits to this country, he's known it all along.
And you know what, Charles, if I may add back to the numbers that are so powerful, over the weekend we ran the power of big data to see the voice of the people. What is public sentiment towards the wall? 45% of all Americans, or at least the 8.5 million data points that we analyzed, were positive. And amongst Hispanics, 1 in 3 were positive. So we keep kind of talking to ourselves, and then there's rhetoric and there's talking points that we hear over and over again. The data is very clear, and it's about security and also opening doors for opportunity. Immigrants like myself that have benefited from an amazing country, we want to keep contributing, and there's many more out there that want to do the same, but the system is broken, and he's opening a path for it to be fixed.
Right, and you say you don't have any problems with this. In fact, you support many of these things. How should it be done then in your mind? Because these are offers that are now on the table. You know, they've existed in the atmosphere, but all kinds of solutions have been brought up. The point is that we've never had the negotiating process to get them done.
Oh, there has been a negotiating process. That's the problem. There's been a negotiating process, and twice Democrats and Republicans in Congress had reached a deal that everyone understood President Trump supported, and at the last minute, he got pressure from the hard right, and he dropped his support, and the deal collapsed.
Well, with all due respect, and the hard right is against this offer that he made over the weekend in front of the American public. Will Democrats be able to recognize that President Trump's going to take a political hit on what he's offered, but it is a compromise, and at least re-engage on the negotiations?
Well, I think there is a negotiation going on. It's just not what you'd expect in a mature, well-functioning democracy. It's going on through tweets. It's going on through interviews on television. It is kind of going on. It's a back-answered way to go about things. Mm-hmm. It would make a lot more sense if people could get together, but it would also make a lot more sense if they went ahead and opened the government, put people back to work, which is not just something I worry about for those 800,000 people, but for the fact that there's important work that's going undone.
Jeff, some people would argue, hey, you're right. How could even the House Majority Leader be on a way to a one-week trip in the midst of all of this? People are frustrated with both sides and not coming together, not meeting face to face. Do you know if there are any sort of back channels, negotiations going on? I think this is where the American public is frustrated, that it doesn't even feel like they're engaged.
It really doesn't. The president is actually, the Democrats forced the president to turn this into a public discussion. And so we had a public discussion, and that transparency is the only reason we're heading towards any kind of compromise, because he forced this debate out into the open. Because the Democrats, they just don't want to deliver anything to this president. They don't care what it's doing to this country. And the president will get more border security, guaranteed. He will win this by getting more border security. Afterwards, everyone's going to claim political points. At the end of the day, America will be safer. And yes, it's precisely because the president forced this conversation into the public eye that this is going to happen. It's precisely because he didn't back down that we're going to actually have border security for the first time in our lifetimes.
Jeff, Lili, Brad, thank you all very much. Really appreciate it.